The next item is item number 3, application for certificate of appropriateness at 314 Hicks Street in the Brooklyn Heights Historic District, a townhouse designed by Gordon Kahn and built in 2013. This is an application to construct, this is, item 3 is 447 Pacific Street in the Borum Hill Historic District, docket number 15-5578, block 184, lot 35. An Italianate-style row house built in the 1850s, and this is an application to reconstruct the rear facade and construct a rear yard addition.
Good morning, Commissioners. Reba Ashby, Preservation Staff. The item before you is 447 Pacific Street, which is mid-block on the north side of Pacific Street between Bond and Nevins Streets in the Borum Hill Historic District. The proposal is to remove the existing rear facade and construct a new 2-story rear addition and rebuild the top 2 floors of the rear facade in the same plane as the existing. The proposed addition will be visible from oblique views looking south from Nevins Street, and the top 2 floors will largely be rebuilt to match the neighboring properties, matching what is believed to be the historic design. And the project architect, Kimberly Newhouse, is here to elaborate.
Thank you, Reba.
Good morning. So the project is growing out of a rear wall condition that is pretty deteriorated. Currently, there is a bulge right about here. It's 5 inches out of alignment with the rest of the wall. It varies. It's sort of like there's a, I should have brought this, but there's a, almost like a heat map showing the out of alignment as it grows toward that bulge. So the back wall is also coated in ThoroSeal currently. So trying to salvage this wall and reconstruct it, we would not end up with a brick face. So that's where the reconstruction is coming from. I'm going to go back just to give you context. Tax lot photo, the house as it exists, the context on the front, which is less relevant. Here's the rear yard context. On the corner at Nevins, there is a building with a rather large 2-story stepping to 1-story extension. And in this row, there are many steel decks. Our project would be removing our existing steel deck. So this is not that relevant, but we are restoring the entire property. It's just the rear that's requiring the public hearing. So this is a section showing the removal, showing the deck that would be coming off and the proposed volume of the new extension. It's only projecting 6 feet 9 inches off the rear wall of the building. And the parlor floor, there's a bay that projects another 2 feet 3 inches. So that section is cut through the bay. That was the elevation we saw earlier. Those are the 2 side elevations showing the projection of the bay. This is the context within the block showing the other existing extensions and the volume of ours right here. This is the point of visibility, which I'll show you shortly. Context showing adjacent facades currently proposed. These are images of a mock-up that was done just to test the visibility. We did a mock-up of the roof line, and you can start to make it out. It's the plywood structure here with orange tape on it. You can see it here, and this is the point of greatest visibility. If you look at the plan, you can see we've labeled sort of locations the photos were taken from to give you some idea of sort of what is this visibility as you go down the street. And from the sidewalk on Nevins, adjacent to the building, you can just make out the roof line very minimally. As you, and then cross the street, you start to get a little bit of visibility. We also went ahead and inserted our 3D model renderings just to give you the same view using those roof lines to show you what visibility you would get. And it sort of, it shows up, you see it, you see more of it, and it disappears very quickly. The form on the back, there's not really a precedent for sort of what we're doing. So, we looked at tea houses in Brooklyn Heights a little bit, but that wasn't necessarily appropriate to this neighborhood. But across the street on Nevins, there are these 2 little buildings on Nevins, not in the historic district, with projecting bays. And that was sort of something we loved. And in fact, over the course of this project, one of those bays was lost. So here's a Google Maps photo that shows it still existing and then as it is currently. Floor plans, so you can see it's really minor extension on the lower level, and then the bay at the parlor floor allows just enough to get a dining table in. That's really the bulk of it.
Thank you. Are there questions for the applicant? Yes, Roberta?
Question again, so it's only, just go over those two items. I'm sorry, which was visibility of
The visibility, it is visible from Bevins. Let me just go back to this map. So you can see the little cone of visibility right here. Sort of shows you the cone of visibility. There's about 70 feet of sidewalk where you start to glimpse it, you see more of it, and then it goes away.
Because there's a break in the wall, right?
Yeah, there's
Along
a break in the
levels.
wall. There's a large masonry building on the corner, and then there is the neighbor's extension, which obscures very quickly.
Are there any other questions? Okay, are there speakers on this item? Any speakers? All right, there are no speakers, and we received a resolution from Community Board 2, which supports the application. All right, questions and comments on this case? Seems easy, right?
It's not that you see it, it's what you see, and you see a little piece and it's appropriate.
Right, I completely agree, and I think it's a choice of materials that's very much reflected in the neighborhood, and so it seems like it fits in very well. Any concerns? Okay, we can close the hearing. Okay, and we can read the resolution. Addie, do you want to read that?
In the matter of an Italianate-style row house built in the early 1850s, the application is to reconstruct the rear facade and construct a rear yard addition. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed addition and reconstruction of the rear facade will not eliminate or conceal any significant architectural features of the building or site, that the proposed addition will not extend further into the rear yard than the adjacent additions at the neighboring properties and will not diminish the central green space, that the proposed two-story height of the addition will not overwhelm the building or exceed the height of rear additions at neighboring buildings, that the proposed brick cladding will be consistent with the historical material palette of the building, that the proposed reconstruction of the top two floors of the rear facade will return this altered portion of the building more closely to its historic appearance and return unity to the row, and that the addition will only be visible from the public thoroughfares as a background element from limited vantage points along Nevin Street, and when seen from such locations will be perceived as a moderately scaled, harmonious, and subordinate addition within the context of secondary facades.
All in favor? Any opposed? This application's been approved.